Hello and welcome. Let's continue the series where we are discussing the previous year questions of prelims exam, and what we are also trying to do is that we are also integrating the conceptual clarity with the previous year questions. So what we are doing is, it is basically core concepts through PYQ series what we are doing, and let's now continue with the same. So we have come on to the second chapter. The chapter is national income. We have already discussed the questions from introduction to economics. Let's move on to national income. So this is a question from 2019. Yeah. So the question is about purchasing power parity. Yes. So the question is, consider the following statements. Purchasing power parity exchange rates are calculated by comparing the prices of same basic goods, same basket of goods and services. Let me do it for your clarity. For the same basket of goods and services in different countries. And then we have a second statement. Now before we get on to this, let me now explain to you the concept of purchasing power parity. We will utilize the space over here only. Or let's do it somewhere else. So what I am discussing with you is, I am discussing with you purchasing power parity. Suppose the exchange rate of dollar and rupee is $1 equal to 80 rupees. So this is the exchange rate. So this exchange rate which we read in the newspaper, actually this is nominal exchange rate. This is nominal exchange rate. So when I say $1 is equal to 80 rupees, what comes to the mind is that whatever we are consuming in US for $1, we'll be able to consume the same for India in 80 rupees. For example, if I say that India's GDP is, say, suppose India's GDP is 400 rupees. It means in India we are producing goods worth of 400 rupees. I can also say in India we are purchasing goods worth of 400 rupees, because we know one thing, GDP is calculated by three methods: GDP income, expenditure and by production method. Whether it is GDP expenditure or GDP income, GDP should be equal. So if India's GDP is 400 rupees, it means we are producing goods worth of 400 or we are buying goods worth of 400 rupees. And if $1 is equal to 80 rupees, it means we would say India's GDP as per nominal exchange rate comes out to 500 by 80 equal to, say, $5. So we would say this is India's GDP at nominal exchange rate. And if I talk about India's GDP at nominal exchange rate, India's GDP at nominal exchange rate is $4 trillion. And as per GDP by nominal exchange rate, India is at number 5th position, where number 1 position is taken by US, number 2 is by China, number 3 is by Japan, number 4 by Germany, and number 5 is India. India has just surpassed UK, and this is as per GDP by nominal exchange rate. Now, but what we are discussing here is, we are discussing GDP at purchasing power parity, or what is exactly purchasing power parity. Now, I said India's GDP is 400 rupees. But then we have seen one thing, that developed countries, they have seen a growth of around 200 years, now 250 years. European countries, US, they have seen growth from quite a long time. As those countries have seen a growth from quite a long time, inflation in those countries is high. Now the inflation is low, but over a period of time, because of consistent growth over a period of time, the demand of goods in those countries has been on a higher side. The prices in those countries have been on a lower side. So I'll give you another example. Suppose you want to buy a vegetable thali, and you have this vegetable thali at Patna or say Havda or Bhubaneswar, and you have the same vegetable thali in Mumbai or Bangalore, same quantity, same items. Would the vegetable thali be costing same? No, the vegetable thali will be costing more in Mumbai or Bangalore and Chennai. Reason? Because there is inflation in these cities. The prices are higher in these cities because the rent is high. People's income is more. The labor charges are more. The vegetables prices are more. The curry charges are more. The spices charges are more. So the goods in these states would be costing high. Now extrapolate it at a global level. Would a vegetable thali be costing same in Delhi, and would it be costing same in New York and Tokyo? Obviously you would say कि sir, Tokyo and New York, the cost would be higher because they have inflation. So if I say that value of say a typical good in US is say $1. US a developed country. If a value of a particular good is $1 in US, in India, do we need to pay 80 rupees for it as is given by the nominal exchange rate, or do I need to pay less? I need to pay less because in developing countries the inflation is less, hence people's purchasing power is more, or I would say the currency's purchasing power is more. In India, in US, whatever we are getting for $1, in India, we may be getting the same for just 20 rupees. For example, let me say if this good is suppose an apple. The price of one apple in US is suppose $1, and price of same apple in US in India is say 20 rupees. So don't you think I would say that purchasing power of $1 is equal to purchasing power of 20 rupees, because in both the cases I am buying the same good. So in this case, what is the purchasing power exchange rate? Purchasing power exchange rate is $1 is equal to 20 rupees, and this would be called the purchasing, this would be called the exchange rate at purchasing power parity. What's the meaning of parity? Parity means equality. So the purchasing power of $1 is equal to, is at par to purchasing power of 20 rupees, right? So here I took in the example one apple. Consider it not to be one apple because we just cannot compare it with one apple. What we will do is we will take those goods and services, those essential goods and services which are consumed in US as well as in India. Let's not compare a single good. Let's take a basket of goods which are used by both Indians and the people at US. So we are discussing purchasing power parity. So we would say if value of one basket of goods in US in $1 is $1 and value of the same basket of goods and services in India is 20 rupees, I would say purchasing power of $1 is equal to 20 rupees. Fair enough? So now we said India's GDP is 400 rupees. So at nominal exchange rate, India's GDP would come out to $5. But what is the purchasing power of 400 rupees? Purchasing power of 400 rupees is not $5. Because we know one thing, that if purchasing power of 20 rupees is equal to purchasing power of $1, then purchasing power of 400 rupees is equal to purchasing power of actually $20. So I would say that India's GDP at PPP exchange rate would be equal to $20, considering we take $1 is equal to 20 rupees at purchasing power parity. So if we go by that, then India's GDP at purchasing power parity, it comes out to some $16 trillion. Because India's GDP is some, I would say, not $16 trillion. India's GDP is 300 lakh crores. India's GDP, yes, it is $16 trillion, and India's GDP is not $4 trillion. India's GDP is $4 trillion at GDP by nominal exchange rate. India's GDP at purchasing power parity is $16 trillion. If we go by this, number one is China, which comes out at $29 trillion. Number two is US, which is just $23 trillion. And number three is India. Alright, now let's come back to the concept. Yes. Now you will be easily able to solve the question. The question is, purchasing power parity exchange rates are calculated by comparing the prices of the same basket of goods and services in different countries. Yes, this statement is correct. We have just discussed. Second is, in terms of PPP dollars, India is the sixth largest economy in the world. No, we have discussed this thing. Look, in 2019 when the question was asked, in nominal exchange rate terms, India was at number 6th. We have discussed earlier that now India is at number 5. We have surpassed US. So we have surpassed UK, right? That time nominal exchange rate India was at number 6, but at PPP exchange rate India was 3rd then also. So this statement is wrong. Only one statement is correct. Only A is the answer. I hope you have understood what is the concept of purchasing power parity, and based on that concept you can also attempt this question. We'll continue with the similar question from the national income chapter. See you then. Thank you.